All right, so this video is absolutely going to trigger some of you, especially those of you that are beating the crap out of the keyboard every single time I talk about financing cars. Those of you that were in my last video blaming all the people who are in trouble for financing cars and going through delinquencies. That video is very different. I want to make it very clear that in this video, I am speaking to people who have lots of cash in the bank. And some of you who like to bang on the keyboard and say that anyone who finances a car is stupid, I propose that if you have the cash in the bank and you don't finance the car, that you are utterly stupid. How about that? And I don't mean to offend you. I just mean to completely offend you because your comments get a little bit old and I think they're wildly misleading to lots of people who need better coaching on how to spend their money, especially when they've amassed a certain level of cash and now have the ability to spend that cash and then spend it on the absolute wrong thing. So we're going to talk about why you should absolutely use the bank's money, and I'm going to show you specifics as to how using your money, your cash wisely, can get you a free car. Let's go ahead and jump over my screen so you can see what I'm talking about here. So I went ahead and just did some simple breakdowns for you. And let's just jump over to financing a car. So financing a car always entails some interest. And the example I'm going to use while we're going through the other examples is just a $50,000 car. And you can use calculator.net to figure this out. And what's beautiful here is it gives you an amortization chart and a breakdown on how much interest you're going to pay every single year. It breaks it up on one of these regular interest type loans. So let's just go ahead and do the math on a $50,000 car for 5 years on a 5-year loan, a 60-month term. And let's just say a crappy interest rate of 10%, not the worst interest rate. Many are paying much more, but let's say a 10%. But we can also go and change it to 5. Well, let's first look at the math on 10. 10%, and I'm doing the taxes in California. It's an approximate, actually, I think it's like 7.75, but we'll just leave it alone. It automatically puts this stuff in for you. Come up here, and I've got a total loan amount. That's if you showed up to the dealership with no money, no cash, nothing in your pocket. You just showed up with a good credit score because you've saved your money and you've lived modestly and within your means, and you've paid your bills on time. You didn't rack up a ton of credit card debt. You've done everything right, and you've bought and paid off cars over time. And now here you are that you are financially capable of walking into a dealership and buying a car, zero money down. You can use your credit union money, which I highly advise that you do. Generally, the car dealers are margining your loans up an interest rate or two, so you should walk in with your own interest rate and then allow them the opportunity to match it, but certainly do not fall for their financing. But Brad, they're going to make me, or they won't sell me the car, then go buy from somebody else. I'm not going to play that game. Or go ahead and do their financing, let them run your credit, and then pay the freaking loan off, or call the bank and cancel the thing. I mean, if they want to play games, I'll play games too. So here's the deal. I have no sympathy for car dealers. I'm sure you know that by now. But let's go ahead and look at what you end up paying. So here's sales tax. You finance everything in. You literally wrote a check for nothing. The total cost of the car is going to be $69,000. And this is where the self-righteous keyboard warriors start screaming, look at that, you're going to pay so much more. You're going to pay $20,000 or $15,000 in interest, and that is just downright stupid, a fool and his money, and all the things you guys say. So here's the deal. Let me show you what happens. Here's what happens in interest. That means it's $15,000 in total loan interest over the 5-year period. But then let's go ahead and look at first year, you're going to pay $5,000 in interest. Second year, you're going to pay $4,000 in interest. Third year, you're going to be paying about $3,000 in interest. Then fourth, $1,977, and then $725 in interest. Then you'll pay off your car, but that would total $15,000. So the cost to use the bank's money at 10% is a $15,000 number. So keep that number in mind. But let's just say you've got extraordinary credit, you're doing great, and you get a promo interest rate, and you get a 5% interest rate. The total interest, $7,000. But let's remember, first year, the total interest is only $2,500. The bank's letting you have $50,000. Actually, more than that, because remember, you're financing everything in. $54,000 for $2,507 for the year. That's the deal. That's the deal you make with them. They'll give you that money to go buy the thing you want. You're going to pay them $2,507. That's if you've got this extraordinary credit. Let's say you manage to get a 0% interest deal. Well, we already know this number is going to go to zero, but you can go to 3%. Bottom line is, here you're looking at $2,500 or a total of $7,200. At 10%, you're looking at $15,000. Let's just say you are subprime and you're going to get nailed at 15% interest. But hey, you know what? The only reason they're nailing you at 15% interest is because you've never had a car loan that large and the bank's kind of concerned. And let's just say you're trading in your other car that you did pay off, but it had never been a car loan higher than $25,000. And now you're getting a $10,000, $12,000 down payment, and your loan is going to be for $50,000. Let's just keep this math really, really simple. At $50,000, and let's say because you're going to have tax and license, you end up with a total loan amount of $54,000 at 15% interest. Oh no, your total loan interest is $23,000. Now, yes, that's brutal. Let's look at the first year. You're paying $7,663 in interest. That sucks. It's a hard first year. It's definitely costing you a lot to borrow against that car. Should you still do it? Well, let me show you a few things when you're looking at a 60-month purchase, a 5-year purchase. No, so remember this, $23,000 at 15%, $15,000 at 10% interest, and at 5% interest, you're looking at, what was it? $7,000. It's like $7,500. So that's for $50,000. So now let's go ahead and jump around and go look at, and all I did is I simply Googled the top 25 mutual funds. And let's just say you go and invest in, I took the first one, and then I went over here and I looked at, well, this is what it's been doing. So let's go back 5 years. 5 years was $129, and now it's $241. So that's not bad. And then let's go over here and look at, well, what happens if you were to put that your $50,000 instead of paying cash for that car? If you would have put $50,000, I'm not even giving the benefit of the $54,000 with tax and license. Let's just say all you did was take your $50,000. The day you financed that car, instead of putting the $50,000 into that car, which by the way is going to depreciate by 20, 30, 40, 50% by the time the 5 years is up, if not worse. Here's what happens. You put $50,000 in on April 24th, 2020, 5 years ago in this mutual fund. Remember, the day you bought that car and you took that 15% interest rate and that ridiculous $23,000 in interest you're going to pay. And then 5 years, over the 5-year period, you paid that $23,000 in interest. Your $50,000 that's sitting in this Vanguard Total Stock Market Index is sitting there making you money. And that is now worth, as of today, it's worth $103,074.13. So now go ahead and deduct the $23,000 in interest, and you're still up by almost $30,000. You made $30,000 using the bank's money. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. So you doubled your money here. Yes, you paid. Now, I'm assuming you're going to get the 10% interest. So let's go ahead and do the math, or even the 5% interest, in which case you're in much better shape because you only paid $15,000 in interest and you made $103,000 on this thing. So you still made, what's that? Almost $40,000. I mean, how does that not make total sense to everybody here? But Brad, where do I find? Honestly, a monkey could type this in. Go get a financial advisor. These guys are on straight commission most of the time anyways. Ask a family member, talk to somebody. But all these, I can do the numbers on almost all of these, and over a 5-year period that would happen. How do I know? Because I'm sitting on a significant amount of money in these accounts. I have lots of these things. I was just doing an example of one of mine, but I don't want to get in a position where I'm giving stock advice to anybody. So I am not a stock advisor. I'm not a financial person. I'm just a common sense guy. That's all we're doing right now. But now let's go ahead and do something that might be a little more controversial. So let's go ahead and look. Remember this. Remember this, 15% interest, but let's just go back to reality. Chances are you're looking at 9, 10, 8 through your credit union or something like that. It's $15,000 in interest. Let's go back and just look at, well, what would happen if you bought this company Tesla that everybody's saying is going into the toilet, the stock's crashing, and the company is going out of business, all these horrible things. Let's say this is what's happening. Had you bought, and I'm only going to go back 1 year, a year ago, if you would have taken the same $50,000 that you were going to buy that car with, and you just said, I'm going to finance that. I'm going to finance it at 10%. And for 1 year, I'm going to pay $5,000 to that bank at 10% interest. I'm going to pay $5,000 to that bank the first year. What happens 1 year? Your $50,000 is now $84,660. Let's call it $85,000. Let's get our calculators out. Ladies and gentlemen, and do the math. 50 to 80, that's $30,000 you would have made on Tesla. But Brad, I thought Tesla was at its lowest point. No, it's fallen, but it's not its lowest point. If you just go back 1 year, it was $168 and nobody was screaming that they're going out of business. But what if they go out of business? They're not going out of business. They're not going anywhere. They're not. They're like one of the only American car companies we've got out there, next to maybe Ford or something, that where most of their stuff is actually built here and produced here. So they're not going anywhere. You can, Elon, who knows, maybe he'll move on. I don't know. I don't want to even get into that. I just picked it only because so many people are bashing on it that let's go ahead and take the most ridiculous example. But here's what happened. Don't even get me started on what would have happened if you would have taken the 50 grand 5 years ago instead of bought a car and put it in here. Well, we can go to, let me show you this, stock you later. This is a really cool thing. So if we go back, and I'm just going to go back and look at this just for fun, we're going to look at what date was this. If we would, April 24, 2020, if we would have just come in here, and they'll even suggest you do the math here, and put that same $50,000 into Tesla. All right, April 24, 2020, and reinvest any dividends, calculate. So right now, if you would have put that $50,000 in a Tesla, instead of putting it on a car that was going to become worth half in just a year or two, you're sitting on $294,000. So those of you that are screaming from the mountaintops, don't pay interest. Anybody who pays interest is an idiot. I've got a stock portfolio. I've got an investment portfolio. Hell, I've got a 401k portfolio. I've got Acorns accounts. You want to start investing some money? I'll put 2 links, and yes, they'll be affiliate links. Acorns and Stash. I started these 2 little accounts. I'm starting my daughter's like literally this weekend, and she's going to move all her little savings account into that Acorns account, and maybe another half of it into a Stash account. So she'll have both those apps and watch those. In some of my accounts, some of my investments in Stash and Acorns are like 30 to 40% over the last 5 years I've had these accounts, or 4 years, however long since I started them up. I remember I started one of the accounts, my Acorns account. I started that account in a Chick-fil-A drive-thru. It was an extraordinary long drive-thru one day, and I heard an advertisement, and I thought, I'm going to go ahead and start this thing, and I deposited $100 in there. And then I just set up like a $20 a week or something like that investment. I don't even know. Here's what I can tell you. I've got high 5 figures sitting in there right now, and I would have never imagined that. Same with my Stash account. So if you don't know how to invest, you don't know how to do any of that stuff, then just take some money, take $20 a week or $20 a month or $100 a month, and download the Acorns app. Use my link in the description below, or the Stash app, or do both, and put a minimal amount of money, and then take their advice on where to put the money, and then watch your money grow, and let your money make you money. So now let's go ahead and talk about the other investment that's probably a better idea. And when you have cash in the bank or cash available, so let's say you don't want to touch stocks, you have a rule in your life, you will not invest in stocks, I'm not going to take that chance and risk. There's so much safe stuff you can go into with over time. While over time, you'll always always make money. I'm just going to say always. Anyways, because I'm not an investment person, I'm not guaranteeing anything. But bottom line is, but if you're worried about that stuff, then real estate, no matter what, you're good. So if we go back to like 1996, there isn't a time period, if you just count any 10-year time period, where you couldn't have bought a house and then be solid on appreciation. I mean, yeah, you had some horrible things happen in 2007, 8, 9, and then wham, it came back this last 10 years in massive, massive numbers. And so did a lot of house flippers. Now, I'm in the world where periodically there are opportunities to invest money, and I'm told by friends and people in the business that I have an opportunity, and I would like to be able to jump in on that. But if all my cash is tied up, let's say it's all tied up investments, and it's all tied up in car loans or cars because I didn't want to finance those cars, then I have to tell those people, I can't invest with you. I can't give you $50,000 and split the profit 50-50 on this property you're going to rehab and flip in 90 days or 120 days. I don't want to be the guy that can't take advantage of these opportunities when the opportunities arise. The other thing that I'm not counting, so this is just real estate. Go buy real estate with your money. With $50,000 down, go buy an investment property, rent it out, and let them pay your mortgage off. This is just really simple common sense. Don't buy a car that's going to depreciate in value. Spending your cash on cars is stupid. The next thing that I won't even show you any screenshots on, I'll just talk about, is if you took $50,000 and started a small business, and a business that has a high likelihood of succeeding, that you did a ton of research on, created a business plan and a pro forma, ran it by a bunch of good mentors in your life, hell, come run these businesses by me if you want, and then you went and hustled that business, you could turn your $50,000 investment into millions of dollars. Or you can simply create an income stream with a small business, whatever it is. And a perfect example is I invested money into this YouTube channel over the last 5 years. I don't want to say 5 years, 6 years ago. And I invested, first thing was investing in a Dodge Challenger RT for like $34,000. And I financed that thing. And I can't even remember what the payment was. It was $450, $500, whatever the hell it was. It didn't matter because as soon as I uploaded the first video and I got monetized, within 2 months, I was covering half of that car payment with YouTube revenue. You can go back and watch those old channels or those old videos. And then over that next year, the car payment was covered and then some. Car, insurance, and gas on that car was covered. And then I got the Scat Pack. Actually, I got the Scat Pack pretty quickly after that. So within 3 or 4 months, because the revenue was going up, because you all are watching my channel. And over time, now I've built a business that's averaging $50,000 to $60,000 a year, not including any sponsorships that could or would come or that maybe I have done in the past, free things, opportunities, all the stuff that comes along with having this channel and the tax benefits of owning a small business. So at that point, I end up in a situation where every time I film a video and then I know throughout the year, it's going to yield me $50,000 to $60,000. That means that every $50,000 car I buy pretty much is getting paid for by my small business. I use that only as an example because the self-righteous folks out there will think that your cash should be spent on a car. Now, I'm going to give you the exception and end this video. If you are a retirement age, you're done, or you've achieved a level of wealth, that means you have so much, insane amounts of millions and millions of dollars in the bank that you could not spend it in your lifetime. You don't need an emergency fund. You don't need your money to keep making money. Hell, you don't need to make any more money because you can't even keep track of all the money you have. Then go write checks, pay cash for cars. But you're still trying to build wealth, grow your income, then definitely do this. But if you can't afford the car and you're stretching yourself to buy something way beyond your means, this is not what I'm trying to tell you to do in this video. Buy within your means, buy something that makes sense, look at your income, do the math, and don't put yourself in a position where you're trying to keep up with the Joneses and find out that you can't, and you end up repoing your car like I shared in my last video. So none of that should be perceived in this video or taken in this video that I'm telling you all to finance yourselves into oblivion. I'm saying if you have the cash, you should always use the bank's money and make your cash go out there and make you way more money than the bank's ever going to charge you. So with that, everybody, share your thoughts in the comments below. I'm sure I'll take some heat on this one from some of you, but I'm fine with it. Seems like a thing lately. Have a great day, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye-bye.